Welcome to Married to History, where we try to be informative, entertaining, and family friendly.
Aloha, I'm Christopher. I have a fancy piece of paper on my wall that says that I know more about history than most people do.
I'm Shirley. I'm a homeschool mom that relies on good curriculum, Christopher, and Google to teach our kids history. Hey, honey, I have a history question for you.
I have a question first. Is Google a musical?
Oh my gosh, how many times have we been over this? My list of things I say in the intro rotates, and not all of them are musicals.
Haven't they all been musicals?
No, they haven't.
I would swear they've all been musicals.
I will read you my list. Horrible Histories, YouTube,
Oh yeah, horrible
DK
histories.
Eyewitness
You
books,
said that.
Wikipedia,
Oh yeah, you said those too.
Liberty's Kids,
I don't
Google,
remember that. Oh, I
Crash
remember Liberty's
Course.
Kids.
and then all the
Huh.
musicals.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. We have done 50 episodes. You realize we've done this for a year?
Cool.
Over 50 episodes. A full year.
Well, technically, wouldn't it have to be 52 episodes to be a full
Yeah,
year?
so we've done more than 52 episodes.
Oh, cool.
I think this is going to be
And
what?
did I say? Cool.
55 or something? I don't remember what this is going to be. But yeah, a year and you still don't know what I do in my intro?
It's not like, well, honey, we've been over this. I mean, you're a woman. Your contribution to history is not really worth mentioning.
Do you want to get us canceled before we even gain an audience?
I would hope that our audience would appreciate that I'm just having fun with you right now instead of being serious.
Because blatant misogyny
Aren't
is
I the
so
one that
much
made
fun.
the case for women have contributed quite a bit to history?
I suppose one would have to go back and listen to that episode to know your true feelings on the matter.
It's unfortunately it's like many other things. Think about all the players
Oh my gosh, you're making this a lesson?
on the basketball team. Maybe they're
You're using
not
a
all LeBron
sports
James,
metaphor for me?
but they help.
You're gonna use a
LeBron wouldn't be
sports
able to win the
metaphor.
game by himself. He needs his teammates, even if they don't get the glory or whatnot. They're still important. But I guess, yeah, I don't. I guess on this program we don't have to teach people things.
Well, we can't say that because that's like our whole shtick.
Which is why I'm kind of concerned with why you're like giving me the death eye when I started talking.
I have a history question.
I love history questions.
And actually, this is a special treat because, as you know, we have our niece staying with us
Yes,
for the day.
one of my favorite nieces.
Yes. And this morning, when I told the kids that they would have to be quiet because we needed to record an episode, I think I said, "Hey, do you have a question, a history question for Uncle Chris?" And your children, our children, were like, "Yeah, it can be something stupid."
Oh, joy.
No, but our niece came up with a really good question. So here it is. Was Hitler a bad guy?
See, the snarky one in me wants to say a whole bunch of other things, but see, even I can't get myself to sit down and tease that. No, good things there. All right.
Hold on. Okay. I do have an actual question for you.
Okay, well, first off, let me answer the one from my niece. No, he was not.
He was not a bad guy?
Oh, wait, hold on. What was the question again? Was he a bad guy? Sorry, yes, he
What did
was a
I
bad
ask?
guy.
I don't even
I don't remember how
remember.
you asked the question. I was thinking,
was
no,
he-
he was not a good guy. Yes,
Was he
he
a
was a
good
bad guy.
person? Was he a good person?
It is entirely possible
think
that
that's
a
how she
younger
worded it.
stage in his life he might have been a decent fellow, but definitely towards the end, no, he was a bad man whose decisions caused an awful lot of death and destruction.
Absolutely. Okay, so I do have an actual question because, of course, that was so ridiculous.
Oh, I assume we were going to talk about Hitler for this episode. Okay.
No, we don't have to. I have a question from Quartus.
Cool.
He wanted to know, is it called Germany because it has many germs? That question is so much better.
Yes, Germany is a land that is filled with horrible, horrible germs. Particularly the germ of Nazism came out of Germany.
Right?
So,
It's
yes,
a virus.
Germany is an awfully Germany place.
It has many germs. It's germ-filled
So,
virus.
no, it is not called Germany because of the germs. In fact, in Germany, they don't even call it Germany. In
Mm-hmm.
Germany, the people call, or I believe this is still true, I might be wrong now, but I believe in Germany, they refer to their country as Deutschland. They
Yeah.
refer to themselves as Deutsch, because
Mm-hmm.
Deutschland literally means the land of the Deutsch, so it's not unlike Scotland or
Yeah.
Ireland,
Yeah. Okay, but like
Iceland, Greenland.
this is something that I will never understand about language. Why do we call it don't answer yet. Why do we call it Germany? The name of the country is Deutschland. I can say Deutschland. It's not like maybe I'm not pronouncing it exactly like a person from Germany would say it,
Hmm.
but I can get pretty close. It's not like the word Deutschland uses syllables that I am incapable of producing. Why don't I call it Deutschland? If my name is Shirley and I go to another country and they try to call me Sally because they don't know the name Shirley, Sally isn't my name. Shirley is. So I would expect them to get as close as they can to the name Shirley, not make up something completely new just because they're unfamiliar with it. So, like, I have strong feelings about this and I don't get it. If your name is Santiago and you come to my English speaking country, I'm going to call you Santiago. I'm not going to call you James because James isn't your name, Santiago is. And I think we've had this discussion before. But why do we call it Germany instead of Deutschland?
All right, so I'm not 100% sure about this, but I'm darn certain about this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so first off, so Germany has not always been a unified country.
Okay.
Throughout much of our history, it's been at best a loose or a scattered gathering of confederacies, different independent
Okay.
cultures that all kind of that all had a lot of things in common, like their languages and their practices. Especially as time went on, they got more and
Yeah.
more in common, which allowed Germany to unify as easily as it did at the tail end of the 1800s.
Right.
But before that, it was not a single one land. To the best of my knowledge, nobody called it Deutschland at any point during all that time. It's
Oh.
possible that they might have referred to it as Deutschland, but since there was no one country,
Uh-huh.
I know of no sources that have ever said that it was called Deutschland by the people before Germany in the 1860s comes into being.
1860s.
I want to say 1867 is when Germany becomes Germany. I might be. It might have been later in the 1800s. I
Okay.
don't remember the exact year off the top of my head, but so yeah, Germany does not become Germany until in the late 1800s.
Mm-hmm.
It is conquered. Isn't the completely accurate word
Unified.
through a mixture of conquest and unification. The nation that was Prussia will
Mm-hmm.
unite, absorb all of the German territories or all of the
Okay.
Deutsch people into one nation, and Prussia will cease to exist at that point. Begin calling it, or rather, we will begin calling it the German Empire.
Wait,
Uh,
why did they change? Wait, okay, so Prussia existed.
Prussia did exist for a
Prussia's
time.
like, dude, look at all this land that hasn't been unified or taken by any other empire. It's ours now. Now let's change our name.
So there was a lot more to it than that,
There
and
always is.
this is where Otto von Bismarck makes the case for being arguably one of the smartest, most brilliant, insanely gifted, talented guys that has ever lived. But
Okay.
anyway, that's how Germany comes into being what it is today.
Okay.
And to the best of my knowledge, that's the earliest point at which like the German people, the people living in these areas, refer to the land as Deutschland. But again, I might be wrong on that.
Okay.
But anyway, getting back to your question of
Yes.
where does the name come from, to the German name come from, to the best of my knowledge, that's the name that was given to these people by the Romans, and that's why it
Oh, of
persists
course
in
it goes
our
back to the
culture because
Romans.
we reference it all the way back. And of course, the German people probably never referred to themselves by anything that the Romans ever called them because
Uh-huh.
the Romans were never able to conquer Germany. They made a lot of
Oh.
they made a lot of what's the word
I don't know.
penetrations in. They would get
Mhm.
into parts of Germany for a while, but they never conquered the whole thing.
Ah.
For the entirety of Rome's, even in Rome's prime, they were never
Mhm.
able to completely conquer what is today Germany.
Cool.
And in fact, it was a lot of German tribes that were the ultimate defeat of Rome. It's
Really?
it's a German tribe that sacks Rome. I know I've told you about this. Do you know where we get the word vandalize from?
From the Vandals.
Yes, a Germanic tribe called the Vandals who
Ah,
sacked Rome around about 450, I think. 450, 453, sometime around there. They're the ones that
nice.
sacked Rome. This is where we get the word vandalize from. When we talk about,
That's
oh,
really cool.
destroying something beyond measure, yeah, you vandalize it. You did what the Vandals did to Rome.
That's really cool.
So yes, I
Okay.
believe that is where we get the name Germany from, and why we call everything
Yeah.
about Germany Germany instead of Deutsch.
But like the Roman Empire's been gone a really long time.
And yet our buildings still
Really,
have
really
columns
long.
and domes, and yet we still
Yeah,
have a
because that looks
Latin-based
cool.
language.
Right. Okay, so like the architecture is not a good example
So you
because
said
those look
cool.
cool and they're
The word
practical.
you're looking for is classic. When we say
Yes.
classic, at least
Yeah.
in most
Yeah.
cases, we are referring to the Roman era.
Right. But like, okay, continue.
No,
Like,
I believe I
okay,
answered your
so
question.
why did the Romans call them Germans? Like, what does that mean?
I
I
honestly
assume it's
don't.
Latin or something.
I honestly don't know why the Romans called them Germans. Why did the Romans call people that weren't Romans barbarians?
I know
Though
you know
that,
the answer to
well, yeah,
that.
I know the answer to that, or at least if I'm remembering correctly, I know the answer to that. I believe because so Romans wore tunics and togas eventually.
Right.
They didn't wear pants. If I remember correctly, barbarian is, or at least the Roman word for it, not taken. I think barbarian is the word, or at least the barbarian had a Roman root. The Roman word for people that weren't Roman
Mm-hmm.
was the pants wearers. So barbarian means people that wore pants or people that wore trousers instead of the tunics and eventually togas.
I love that. They're just pants wearers.
Yes, I one of these days I probably should look that up to find out if that's true. I kind of just took the
You have been spreading that
I
for
took
so
the
long.
professor who told me that. I took his story to heart on that, and I just
Oh.
never bothered to do the research
Was it
myself.
Wrightson though?
No, Wrightson didn't tell me that.
Oh, because I would trust him.
No, this was my Latin teacher. Who, now
Uh,
that I think about it, arguably yes, I should have looked that up because he was questionable on some
really?
matters of his sanity. Don't get me wrong, I loved Mr. Immerdino. He was funny, but sometimes I wasn't quite sure what was going on in his head.
That's great. Okay, I'm looking it up. I'm trying to figure out why the Romans called it Germany.
So it might be that there's no known answer. Why does anybody or any place get the name that it does?
Right, but
Sometimes it
like
was just
sometimes
somebody randomly, the first guy that showed up to this area just said, "Hey, I'm gonna call it this." For whatever reason, like we read
right.
about this in scripture when people came to this place or went to that place and they called these people or called this land this or that, and I've thought to myself that okay, so you named it and you gave me the
Mhm.
reason for naming it, but me and my ignorance, like for your reasons, it's not the name I would have picked for this thing, but okay.
Right. Well, and I think more relevantly, like sometimes you make up a word. We're going to call this gobbledygook. The word gobbledygook doesn't mean anything. It's just a collection of
Oh,
interesting sounds. But sometimes they, like, I would assume Germany has a root in a Latin word already. I'm looking it up.
perhaps. Oh, and then when you said that, that reminded me. So in my days of my ambitions of becoming a writer, I was always having to create new names for characters and
Yeah.
places and things of that nature. Sometimes I would literally just create some gobbledygook, as you will, as
Mm-hmm.
like a placeholder until I thought of something cooler.
Yeah.
But as time went on, some of those gobbledygooks I
Yeah.
came up with just stuck.
It grows on you. Yeah. Okay, so this is from a website called smartergerman.com. It says the term Germania itself was used more as a catch all for the collectives of people who lived beyond the Roman borders on the Rhine.
Okay,
The Germani Cisrenani, I know I'm pronouncing that wrong, literally meaning this side of the Rhine,
cool.
or diverse
Cool. All right. So
cultures.
yeah, I never knew that. That it meant all right. The people that were on the opposite side of the Rhine from the Romans.
Yeah.
Cool.
See, you learn something new every day. But still, we should call it Deutschland. So, what does Deutsch mean? Why do they call themselves the Deutsch people?
That's that's their identity for their people, the Deutsch people. Why did Americans once? Why do we call ourselves Americans?
Because our
Why
country is called America.
Okay, well, their culture, their people are the Deutsch people.
And it's America because of Amerigo's Vespucci. So, like, we have a clear root. I want to know what the root of Deutsch is. Come on.
I'm sorry, I do not have the answer that you seek. I do not know what the root of... So
You let me down.
I have suspected. I don't know if anybody's ever done a study that because of the closeness of their names, that Danish and Deutsch are not that far removed from each other.
I don't know.
But I can like for example, I know that so you know how every name has, or not every name, there's several cultures have that part in their name where it's Mick or Day or Vaughn, or something like that.
Yeah.
So the Danish Van, and in Germany it's Vaughn, so it's only a very slight removal of the two, and they sound, just in general, their names sound so much alike, Dane and Deutsch. So I suspect that there is some connection there, but whether that's before the Romans named them, after the Romans named them, how deep the divide is, if they ever were connected in the first place, I don't know those things.
Yeah. You should know everything.
Once again, I feel the need to point out, I know so much and far more than you did before you hopped onto Google there. I want to point out again that I was right, even if I didn't understand every little nuance of why I was correct in what I knew.
Okay, I do know something. I cannot say with 100% confidence that it's true, but... So you've heard of, like, the Pennsylvania Dutch?
Yes.
Like, Dwight speaks it in the office.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's German.
No, because, yes, that doesn't mean the office was wrong.
I didn't say they were wrong.
Okay, so your attitude you're giving me.
Sorry.
Okay, so the language Pennsylvania Dutch isn't Dutch from Holland. It's German. It's based in German, not in Dutch. Mm-hmm. And it's because of that confusion with Deutsch. Deutsch sounds like Dutch, but it's not the same as the Dutch language that they speak in Holland. Mm-hmm. So basically, people are stupid and we confuse things.
Yeah, it happens a lot.
A lot. Okay, so tell me more about Germany. Like, how did it become a country? So Prussia takes over this land, unites it.
So it's very... I kid you not, it's very complicated because Germany
exists. It always is complicated.
Germany existing as it does today is, I think, without any doubt, due to the efforts of Otto von Bismarck, who I think I said already is arguably one of the most brilliant, clever people that have ever lived. He's one of the people that's on my little poster wall there because he's just awesome. And in Civilizations, when almost
it's a video game.
Almost every time that Germany is a playable option, Otto von Bismarck is the character, and rightly so.
Yeah.
Dude is awesome, and I play him almost any time that I can. All right.
Awesome. And this is pre-Nazi.
So, yes, this is long before the Nazis, because Germany doesn't even exist at this point.
Got it.
So Otto von Bismarck becomes Chancellor of Prussia. He's working for King William the... I don't remember what William's title is at the time. Or I'm calling him William. His name is Wilhelm.
Yeah, see, don't change his name. His name isn't William. It's Wilhelm.
All right. So, under these very clever plans that Bismarck comes up with making alliances, with being prepared to stab some of these alliances in the back, with making deals and plotting military strategies, and very important also, learning from the Civil War. Bismarck
our Civil War.
Yes, the American Civil War. So Bismarck embarks on this operation in the late 1860s. I believe 1867 is the time when he gets this started, or the time when he finishes it. Yeah, I think it's the time he gets this started.
Okay.
Oh, no, 67 might have been in the middle of it. Okay, sorry, I'm getting all distracted. Anyway.
Should I Google it?
Anyway, I know that Bismarck has, amongst other things, studied the American Civil War, so he learns a lot of very important lessons from that. He learns about proper troop movement. He learns about how to use trains to facilitate supply lines and troop movement. He learns about which weapons to use, which tactics to use, and he does all of this very brilliantly. He modernizes the Prussian army so that it is arguably, while still not gigantic, the most effective military force that exists on Europe at the time. And again, using all of these things, he's able to unite Germany kind of like this. There's basically three phases of this, three different wars, I like to call them. The first one, I keep forgetting how to pronounce it. I want to say it's called the Second Auschwitz War or something like that.
Okay.
This is a war where Denmark does not exist as we know it. It's there's some territories that are that's not the right way to say it either. The land of Denmark is divided into several holdings. There are locals that are there that have their own kingdoms. Austria has some claim to those areas. Prussia has some claim to those areas as well.
Okay.
And Otto von Bismarck is going to go to Austria and say, "Hey, let's settle this matter right now. You and I, we'll go in there, we'll attack this place, and we'll take Denmark, and we'll split the spoils between us." Austria says, "Yeah, sounds like a plan." So they do that. They conquer Denmark, all right, and they split the spoils between them. A couple of years goes by, and then Otto von Bismarck says, "Hey, Austria, we want the whole kit and caboodle." So there's the Austro-Prussian War. The two of them fight it out, and Prussia gets all of the territory that it was supposedly splitting with Austria, and also Bismarck makes a couple of alliances with some of the local, still independent kingdoms that exist in the German territories at this time. And so Prussia now effectively controls the northern half of what will eventually become Germany at this point in time. But the southern half of Germany, or what will eventually be Germany, is populated mostly by Bavaria and I want to say the other kingdom's called Württemberg. I might be remembering that name wrong.
No idea.
But one of the problems with those two is that they are both Catholic, and because they are Catholic, not Protestant, they are allied and they have guarantees rather with France because France doesn't want Germany to. Without exception, one thing that everybody in Europe can agree upon is that they don't want Germany to unite. So let me back up a little bit more here.
Why do they care? Germany's like in the middle of the conflict.
So I need to back up a little bit more here to I think properly explain the situation.
Okay.
So the most lasting thing that the French Revolution in the beginning of at the end of the 1700s, beginning of the 1800s spreads across Europe, the most lasting thing is the spirit of nationalism.
Okay.
This idea that, hey, we should form our own nation, we should be our own rulers kind of a thing. That really doesn't exist throughout Europe until the French Revolution spreads that idea around to people. So after Napoleon is defeated and the French Revolution is over, at a council of Vienna, the major powers of Europe, the ones that contributed to defeating Napoleon, so Prussia and Britain, I don't remember if Russia gets invited, I think they do, and others, and Austria is there, all basically decide, all right, let's put Europe back to the way it was before the French Revolution and before Napoleon did anything bad. So they put everything back to the way it was. One of the problems with that is a lot of the people who are living in these places, having gotten that taste of nationalism, as corrupt as it was under Napoleon's rule, a lot of them were like, we don't want the old order back. We don't want our old kings and queens back. And so there are rebellions, there are revolts. And the two biggest, most significant ones are going to be in Italy and in Germany. Both Italy and Germany are not nations at this time. At this point in history, they've never been united. Italy hasn't been united since the fall of the Roman Empire. Dang. Germany has never been united, arguably during the whole Roman Empire, but that's another story.
Different episode.
I prefer to say that Germany has never been united.
But these are peoples with similar cultures and language.
But yeah, that's one of the things that really helps it. Their languages are similar, their cultures are similar. They've been existing as independent city-states or whatnot. And something else that I think gets thrown into the mix to help them out is that France and Austria and some of the bigger players have been fighting a lot of their wars on them and over them during this time. So there's a little bit of an added resentment, I think, there.
Yeah, makes sense.
All right, so Italy is the first to begin its unification. Its efforts start in about the 1840s, and believe it or not, Italy is going to succeed in its unification thanks largely to Germany. So a part of the Italian national territory is controlled by Austria, so it's fighting a war with Austria. Well, Austria backs off and makes a deal with Italy because now the Austro-Prussian War has begun, and Austria sees that, Prussia is more of a threat to us, so, all right, we're going to leave Italy alone, and Italy, at the end of their war, get kind of a freebie out of Austria, because Austria wants to make a quick deal to end that fighting. So, and then Italy's unification still isn't over at this point because now Italy gets basically everything but Rome. Rome has the backing of France. There's a French army in Rome, and the Pope is resistant. He doesn't want to unify. The Pope was on the side of unification for Italy until he found out they were going to unify it as a secular state, and then he said, "Oh, well, then peace out. I'm not going to do that anymore."
Yeah.
So a French army is keeping the Italians from completely unifying towards the end of their revolution. But as I said, now going back to Germany, so Germany is infected with the spirit of unification.
Prussia, Deutschland, that's what we're talking about.
So, but again, Prussia has all the northern territories and the alliances it needs for unification, but the southern portions are still holding out, and they've got a backing with France. Thus begins the Franco-Prussian War.
I've heard of that one.
Now, this helps Italy because, again, France, like Austria before, it says, oh, Prussia is the bigger problem, so Pope, peace out, we need our soldiers back. And Italy, again, gets kind of a freebie. The Pope is forced to surrender because he can't fight off the Italian unification at this point.
Oh, dang.
So, Italy gets unified before Germany does. Now, going back to Germany with the Franco-Prussian War, the French, rather understandably, believe that, in the spirit of old Napoleon, that the Prussians, we can kick their trash, we've done it before, and just march on in. But again, Bismarck has learned. Bismarck has better rifles, he has more experience with his armies, and the Prussian army literally devastates, humiliates the French army in this war. I don't remember how long it lasts, but it's a very short war. The Prussians are able to capture Bavaria, capture Württemberg, capture all the German territories, capture the Alsace-Lorraine territory, which is going to be a very big sticking point for Germany and France throughout World War I and World War II. And I kid you not, how bad is this war for the French? The French are forced to sign the documents recognizing that the Prussians control all this territory in France, in Versailles. They are forced to surrender. They're not surrendering France, but they are forced to admit that we lost to you in their own capital. That's embarrassing.
That does seem
and
like
the French will not let this go. This is the major animosity between the French and the Germans that will, I kid you not, be largely responsible for some of the events that lead up to World War I and into World War II as well. This just bitter hatred that the French have towards the Germans, to say nothing about whatever hatred the Germans might have already had to the French.
But like a generation has passed by then. Like, why can't anyone grow up and move on?
Honey, how many generations have passed since slavery was outlawed in the United States?
That's a bad example.
Okay, let me think of a different
one. No, it doesn't matter. It's rhetorical. But no, I was going to say something else. Okay, but yeah, so why was it signed in France? Because they usually do that in a neutral third-party ground.
Yes, unless you were conquered.
Oh. Okay.
Now, again, I want to point out that Germany did not conquer France. Otto von Bismarck did not conquer France at this time. But yeah, they trounced them. Dang. So signing the peace treaty in a neutral country is, a cool deal. Signing the peace treaty in the defeated place's capital means you lost.
Yeah.
This wasn't some, we got together and decided on this thing. This was no, you lost.
Dang. Yeah, that's a big show of power.
Yeah. So, and to go off of there to explain how this embarrassment thing is going to go back and forth.
Yeah.
So eventually, that World War I is going to start. Eventually, Germany's going to lose, and the French are going to be rather mean, I think, to the German ambassadors when they show up. The French are going to meet, and they're going to meet with the German ambassadors in a train car. And the French are basically going to say, "You're going to sign this deal." The Germans are going to take a look at this and say, "This is kind of a bad deal. We're not surrendering. We said we wanted to sue for peace. We wanted to meet and have a talk about peace." And the French basically say, "No, you're going to sign this bad deal right now, or else we're going to just go in and mow you down."
Turnabout.
So the Germans really have no choice, and so they're kind of like have their arms just. Yeah. So for the French, this is a cool thing because we got our revenge back. We embarrassed the Germans. We got our territory back that we lost during the Franco-Prussian War. And then in World War II, when France surrenders, I kid you not, Hitler tracks down that very same rail car and makes the French the exact same deal. You're going to sign this bad deal right now, or else my tanks are going to roll in.
It's so stupid.
So there's a lot of bitter rivalry. I swear, if it hadn't been for Stalin in the Cold War, France and Germany might still be at each other's throats.
Oh
so to kind of go further on that, throughout history, much of history, France and Britain have been bitter enemies.
Yeah.
They've hated each other.
Yeah.
But then Germany came into being, and all of a sudden they're friends.
Oh my gosh.
So I've often used this kind of example whenever this subject comes up, and I'm teaching my students about the unification, because given and I think any student, any person anywhere in the world can understand this. Let's compare Europe to a playground, or to a school or a playground, and there's all the kids are on the playground. They all have their own cliques. There's kind of if there aren't official rules, there's at least the unspoken rules of what goes on the playground, what goes on in the school. Then all of a sudden, new kids show up.
Yeah.
What do? Well, you got to make sure you got to assess those new kids, find out, all right, what are they doing? You got to make sure you put those new kids in their place so they know what the rules are. They don't mess with the culture.
Yeah.
France and Britain and Austria and a couple of other players have established a culture in Europe for hundreds of years. And now all of a sudden, this uppity Italian and German kids be coming along. They don't like that Italian kid. It's like, we got rid of you a long time ago. What you doing back here?
Yeah.
They definitely don't like that German kid, because not only is he a new kid, so they already don't like him, but he's big and bad. He's strong. He's buff. Germany has excellent resources and an excellent industrial base. Their unification doesn't just mean that, there's another big political player in Europe. That means that there's another big industrial and thus economic rival in Europe as well.
Okay.
This is what's going to really earn the ire of Britain in particular, because Germany's going to make no bones about it shortly after unifying. They're going to, the German Emperor, Kaiser Wilhelm I instead of king, is going to make some efforts to expand Germany's navy, specifically with the intent of being able to compete with the British Navy.
Right.
So this is another area in which Bismarck displays his absolute brilliance. Bismarck knows that all of this is true. He knows he's the new kid on the playground. He knows that Germany is the new kid on the playground. He knows that the Austrians hate them because, after all, he betrayed them and there was the war. He knows the French don't like him because, after all, we embarrassed them and there was a war. And he knows that Britain is going to think of them as a rival. He knows that Russia is also on their boundary, and Russia and Prussia don't have a good history with each other either.
Okay.
So he knows that he is surrounded on all sides by enemies. The closest thing they have to friends are the Italians, but they don't have a border with the Italians at this point in history. So he comes up with a brilliant system of alliances, making deals with Russia and Austria and France, believe it or not, and even Britain to a small degree, to guarantee Germany's independence. Basically, he's able to make deals with all of them because a lot of them, like Russia and Austria, for example, are still afraid of France. Because they remember the Napoleonic Wars. They do not trust France. Italy doesn't have much reason to trust France. Doesn't trust Austria either. So Germany is able to make kind of an alliance with you. It's like, hey, we don't like these guys either. So mutual respect, mutual assurance for security or whatnot. Russia and Austria, again, they want Germany as a buffer zone against French invasion. So he's able to make peaceful deals with them. France the same way. France doesn't like Germany, but France doesn't want more problems with Italy or Austria or Russia and Britain too. So he's able to make some good enough deals with these nations to protect Germany, specifically from France. That's the one that he's scared of the most.
How do you protect yourself from France and also make an alliance with them?
I misspoke. I misspoke. He's not making alliances with France. He's making deals to mitigate the threat.
Okay.
But still, in his mind, the biggest threat to Germany is a two-front war. He has no doubt that if there is a two-front war, France is going to be an enemy. That is not going to change. But if he can stop anybody on the opposite side of Germany from joining France, then that's a good thing for Germany. So, like I said, there's so many details to this that I don't think I could remember all of them if I tried. But it's a brilliant system, and it works very well. Bismarck has not only unified Germany, but he has, through these alliances, through this diplomacy, guaranteed that Germany will not have to fight a two-front war and will be able to endure despite whatever problems might be going on with all of its neighbors. But Kaiser Wilhelm dies, and his son, Kaiser Wilhelm II, comes into being.
Wait, but is Bismarck still around?
Bismarck is still around, yeah. Bismarck is still the chancellor.
Okay.
But Wilhelm II I don't remember if there was something personal between them or if it was Wilhelm II's friends and associates
Uh-huh.
didn't like Bismarck. They saw him as a political rival. For whatever the reasons are, Wilhelm II does not heed Bismarck's advice and counsel.
Oh.
Eventually pushes Bismarck. I don't think Bismarck is ever officially fired, but he does push Bismarck
Mm-hmm.
farther and farther away. And Wilhelm does not renew these treaties, the most important of which
Oh
was one
no.
with Russia, which prevented Russia from going to France. So Russia is
Okay.
concerned about being invaded. Russia needs allies. It thought it had allies in Germany.
Yeah.
All of a sudden,
They
Germany
don't.
doesn't want to be your ally anymore. So who's Russia going to go to? Well, not Austria, because Austria is an enemy. They're competing for the
Okay.
falling Ottoman Empire territories. Not the Ottoman Empire, because, well, you're competing
They're
for their territories,
falling.
and they're falling. They're not going to be a help. So who's Russia left to turn to?
France.
Oh, France!
Oh my gosh.
And that begins the alliance system that will eventually become the Triple Alliance versus the Triple Entente in World War One.
Wow.
Yeah, because Wilhelm, and there were other bad things that Wilhelm II is going to do, but I think that one was the most destructive for Germany, or the bad and the worst one for Germany's fate, is because Wilhelm did not renew that treaty with Russia. Russia is forced to go looking for other allies and does exactly what Bismarck knew is the worst possible thing that can happen.
Yeah.
Makes its ally with the people on the opposite side of Germany.
Shoot.
And sure enough, Germany couldn't keep up with it. Though I want to put Germany did actually very well in the two front war during World War One, mostly because.
But they did lose.
They did lose, but mostly it turned out that the reason why they did so well fighting a two front war is because the Russian army was just a joke.
Really?
Yeah, the Germany's during World War One, Germany's elite soldiers, or the cream of the crop, went to go fight on the Western fronts against France and Britain.
Okay.
The guys that were not to say that there weren't good guys on the Eastern Front too, but the Eastern Front is where they sent more of their less than elite soldiers, the overweight guys, the guys with glasses, things of that nature, and yet they were kicking the Russians' butt. The Russians ultimately never had a chance. It was just embarrassing how badly the Russians lost that war.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay, well, I'm going to stop you there.
Okay.
Because that
Did we answer your question? What was this question?
Our first question
It was just how they got the name, right?
Well, yeah. Our niece wanted to know if Hitler was a good person.
He was not.
That was easy.
If I misspoke earlier, I apologize. He was not a good person.
I was probably me. I don't remember how I asked you the first time. And then Cortis wanted to know if Germany got its name because it was full of germs.
No.
So we answered.
Though I do believe that, to be fair, I think there were a number of good discoveries in germology. What's the scientific word for that?
Epidemiology.
There were plenty of good. So Germany had a lot of
Virology.
universities, a lot of good educational facilities. Another one of the reasons why it's a threat if it all becomes unified. So I don't know for sure, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if a lot of good developments in medicine and dealing with germs came out of Germany or German educations.
That's cool. That's very cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the history of the unification of Germany is fascinating.
It is. It's a cool story.
All I have to say is Europe is messed up. And it's so complicated, and there's just so much.
Well, think about it like this. Take a big family. You know, a big family. There's a lot of drama, right?
Yeah.
Now,
do I know big family drama?
Now think about a big family that has been in close proximity to each other for thousands of years, and the cousins are just the cousins aren't even speaking the same language anymore.
Yeah.
But they're still also tightly packed together.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's wrong to say that my siblings and I and our parents have gotten along better now that we've spread around the country. Love my siblings, and if any of them listen to this, they should tell me. So I get it. All right, well, thank you for listening. If you liked what you heard, then please subscribe, tell your friends, and leave us a 5-star review.
If you'd like to hear a future episode with more information about today's topic, contact us on Gmail, Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok at Married to History Pod.
Also, please contact us if you have a silly question idea, or if there's something from history that you would love to learn about.
Just be sure to specify in your message if it's silly or serious, because we don't want to treat a genuine quest for knowledge as a joke.
Talk to you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you could get a flat tire 2 days after you buy new tires.
But not in one of the new tires. That's an important feature.
Well, I wonder though, is it better? Would it have been better for me to get a flat tire in the new tires? Because then, like, I'm sure they're under warranty. But now I have to buy a third tire. So stupid. But I'm not bitter. I'm grateful for the things that we have. Yeah.
Are you trying to convince me? Convince yourself? Or convince your Heavenly Father?
Trying to convince myself.